I'm Dr. Jocelyn Elders, former Surgeon General of the United States, and I'm listening to License to Live.
What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Bonzo here on the License to Live podcast with my good friend, Dr. Jarrett.
This is Super Bowl champion Mike Logan, and you are listening to License to Live.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to episode 200 of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett Patton, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to your favorite podcast player like Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and subscribe to License to Live. And while you're there, please rate this episode and give me honest feedback so I can make sure I'm providing you the most up-to-date information about career challenges and life changes. And fire starters, today we are in episode 200 and we have a special guest that I can't wait to introduce to all of you guys. And I will bring her onto the show right after we finish thanking our sponsors.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarrett's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarrett.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
Hey guys, this is Janae Noonan, and I'm here with Dr. Jarrett on License to Live. Hit the subscribe, follow the journey. Let's go.
We have had such a wonderful time producing this podcast. I can't believe it's been 200 episodes. And we've been doing this for a number of years. And thanks to all the fire starters out there, you guys send me questions. You guys engage in the dialogue. I love all the things you do. And we continue to bring you the most up-to-date information that we can. And to celebrate episode 200, I wanted to bring on a very, very, very special guest. And since we are recording this episode in March 2025, this person is a figure in history already. They have their name etched in the history books for quite some time. And who we are bringing onto the show today is none other than Dr. Jocelyn Elders. She was the 15th Surgeon General of the United States, and she is on the show today. So everybody, all the fire starters, welcome into the show, Dr. Jocelyn Elders. Dr. Elders, thanks for coming on to License to Live.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we are so excited to have you here because, one, your career and your life has been remarkable. And you're someone I've studied for quite some time. And I even remember in medical school, I actually learned about Surgeon Generals. I didn't know what a Surgeon General is, what they were doing.
Join me.
Why they were why they were a doctor and all that stuff. So I can't wait to get into your career. But what I really want to start off with first, Dr. Elders, is telling us a little bit about the family that you grew up with.
Well, when I think about my family, you know that I was born in a very rural community in Arkansas, down in the Delta. I was the oldest of 8 children. I was number 1. So I've been a mother hen kind of. And we worked hard. We worked on it. My parents were sharecroppers. And we grew out, I picked cotton. My sisters and brothers picked cotton to get bus fare for me to go to college. So I grew up in a very poor family. But I'm very proud of all 7. There were 8 of us, 4 boys, 4 girls. And so I'm very proud of all of them. And they all did very well and worked hard, and they all grew up honest, hard-working people, and 5 of them finished college, were veterinarians, nurses, or PhDs. So I'm very proud of them.
Well, it sounds like you have quite the remarkable family. So it looks even as if you being number 1, you were the natural leader of your siblings. So it, looks like, as far as I'm concerned, you've always been a leader throughout your entire life.
Well, when you're number 1, when you're the first of 8 from a very poor family, and very dependent on, you were very dependent on getting the work done, and you have to get your sisters and brothers to help you. Well, you learn very early what you have to do to get cooperation, but you can't do it alone.
Yes, that's great advice. You can't do it alone. So fire starters out there, first jewel dropped already. You can't do it alone. You should always look out for others to help, and it's always easier to do things together than doing things individually. And so you grew up in a sharecropping family. You grew up in agriculture. You're picking cotton as a child. Why did you want to become a physician?
Well, I didn't know I was going to become a physician. You see, we were living down the country. We had well water, outdoor privies, and we didn't even have electricity, the lights, until very late. I was in high school before we even had electric lights. We had lamps. So we were that poor.
Wow.
So I'm saying, so I really know that I've come a very, very long way, and I've contributed that to a lot of good mentors. My sisters and brothers helped me an awful lot. My aunts and uncles, all of my family helped me a lot. So I really talk about the importance of mentors. And when I talk about young women, I grew up during the period when women couldn't even own property. They were, and
right.
So I had a long way to go, but I had some good mentors along the way. I had a lot of people who helped me, and I had a lot of shoulders to stand on. And I never forgot all those shoulders I had to stand on to get there.
Oh man, that's awesome. And I love that, because you're giving a tribute and saying, okay, yeah, this wasn't all of my own self-made success story. I actually had a lot of help along the way. Mentorship was a big part of what you do. So fire starters out there, whether you are mentoring others or you are being mentored, and ideally you should have a combination of both. Mentorship was a very big formative event throughout Dr. Elders' life and her leadership. Now, I believe you went into the Army.
Mentorship was a very big part, through, especially from from college through medical school, and through after my internship, through my fellowship, through becoming Surgeon General, having good mentors is always critical. And I feel very strongly, and I tell women all the time, you really have to have good mentors. And if you're going to be going to medicine, it's very important to making sure, I tell them to make sure you have to pick the right husband. That's important.
Right. So one of the things that you did is in order to go through medical school, besides, having great mentorship, you're a woman going through medical training, during this era when there weren't a lot of women out there. So you were trailblazing, whether
I was the only woman to graduate my medical school class.
Oh my goodness, you were the only woman to graduate in your medical school class.
Right.
Wow. So, that shows you what you're up against in a male-dominated world, especially then when you found yourself the only woman. And I imagine you found yourself one of few women.
A black woman.
Yes. You knew where I was going. Yes. And I was going to say, you were the only black woman there as well. So, you truly going through this program and going through all of your medical training were unique all the way through. And as you were a leader in residency, a leader out there after you graduated and you were practicing.
And if you can believe, I was chief resident at the University of Arkansas in 1960.
The chief resident of the University of Arkansas. So you go back and think about what the world was like in 1960. You're looking at living in the rural South, living in Arkansas, and yet you were still able to lead and be chief resident throughout that. That is truly
and all of our
remarkable.
Presidents were white.
And I know that must have been a wild time for you. It must have been challenging being a leader. And then you were leading probably mostly white men.
All white men.
All white men. Wow. Wow. What gave you the strength and the perseverance to go through and stand up to all of those obstacles?
My mom, really, when you really get down to it, she says, always do your best. That's good enough. And I did. I was always out there trying to do the best I could. She said, there will be other people who will be able to do things better than you. Don't worry about that. Just do the best you can. At the end of the day, know that you did your best.
I love that. Fire starters, we have to stop right here for a moment, and I'm going to leave you with do the best you can. This is advice directly from the mother of Dr. Jocelyn Elders and something she used throughout her life. And we will be back to talk about her role as Surgeon General right after we finish thanking our sponsors.
Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, Licensed to Live, daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. Licensed to Live, daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com.
Welcome back to License to Live. We are with the 15th Surgeon General of the United States, Dr. Jocelyn Elders. And she has just been dropping jewel after jewel after jewel after jewel in the first half of the show. And we are just beginning to get into her time as Surgeon General. And Dr. Elders, the fire starters out here, myself included, we all want to know, once you were out there, you were chief resident, you were a pediatrician. And by the way, hats off to pediatrics, because just of note, myself being a pediatrician as well, pediatricians tend to often be overlooked as leaders because they're typically looking for internal medicine docs, or maybe even family medicine docs, or even a general surgeon. And so pediatrics, because the population is so specialized, tends to get overlooked. But not only did she pick pediatrics as a specialty, hats off to all pediatricians, but she went on to lead in a world that was void of women in medicine and void of Black people in general in medicine. So, Dr. Elders, did you end up wanting to become Surgeon General? I mean, how did that all go about? How did suddenly you go from your days as a pediatrician to Surgeon General?
Well, that's a long jump, but you have to. The thing that caused me to be I'd never seen a doctor until I was a freshman in college.
Wow.
And that was when I saw Dr. Edith Irby Jones, who was the first woman to attend the University of Arkansas Medical School. And she gave this wonderful talk about a poem about the difference between the high road and the low. And so, but I thought she was the most beautiful woman. She was one of the most beautiful talks. And from that day on, all I could ever think of for the rest of my life was I wanted to be just like her. And I spent the rest of my life wanting to be just like her. but see, we didn't have TV. Now you could say, well, sure you saw a doctor on TV, but we didn't have TV. We didn't have electricity, so we didn't have a radio.
Wow.
After I went to the University of Minnesota, which was one of the very top pediatric internships in the country at the time, and I really wanted to be a pediatric surgeon. That was 2 pediatric surgery residences in the country. One was at Boston, the other was at Minnesota. But you had to be a pediatrician before you could be a pediatric surgeon at the time. But you had to know something about pediatrics. And so, but then, I bet my husband got married and went to Minnesota. So I ended up going to Minnesota as being a pediatrics, and I loved it. I worked very hard. But then from Arkansas, I didn't feel I probably knew as much basic medicine, but we learned lots of procedures at Arkansas, so I could do my procedures a little bit quicker and better than others. So I was able to get through I spent a lot of time studying, and I got married in February, went to Minnesota in July. My husband stayed in Arkansas, so I didn't have anything to do but study and read and work hard. And I lived in the dormitory and had all my meals and, in the cafeteria. So it was easy to be a good intern. That was all I had to do. And so I was a hard-working, good intern. But then I wanted to come back to Arkansas, and that's how I came back to Arkansas to be a resident. And I think I was probably a pretty good resident. I must have been a pretty good resident to be selected as the chief resident.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was one of the professors, Dr. Edwin R. Hughes, noticed me, and I said I wanted to go into pediatrics. I wanted to go into practice. And so he told me, he said, he was from New Mexico, and every other word was just a horrible curse word. But that didn't necessarily bother me. But he said, but anyway, the bottom line, he says, you need to go into academic medicine. He said, and just out of pediatric residency, he said, you've got to do a fellowship. He said, you can't go into practice unless you've done a fellowship. So we applied for NIH research fellowship. I did a 3-year research fellowship after being chief resident, and that was a real come down for me because here I was. So he said you got to go back to school, and that's how I ended up getting a master's and almost a PhD in biochemistry. He said you don't know enough to go teach medical students. So, so I did a pediatric residency, and then after the fellowship, he said we applied for a NIH 5-year research career development award. He said that's to teach you how to be a good teacher. So that's
all right.
That's my career.
So you had a lot of formal training in just, teaching and being an academic, pediatrician. Right. Yeah.
And a lot of good mentors.
That's fantastic. So then from there, I mean, did, you just, suddenly get a call from President Bill Clinton?
Well, no. After that, I did research for several years. Really enjoyed research. Then I was taking care of children with different problems, and working hard in Arkansas, taking care of children with diabetes and different growth problems, and different other kinds of problems. And one of the kings of Iran came over and took care of his son.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, you were taking care of diplomats. You now just in the course of your regular job. Yeah. You're doing everything.
So that's my background. And as far as public health, well, I really did a lot of, I wasn't trained in public health, but I want you to know that when I was asked to be the director of the health department by Bill Clinton, I had 2,600 of the best trained, committed public health workers in the world. And the idea, when we went, they knew I didn't know anything about public health. They felt I was a good doctor. But they felt, so I said, always remember that we've got all of these hands and feet and brain out there, but we've got one mouth. I said, we can fuss, fight, until we're bleeding. I said, everybody in here can say whatever they please.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about leadership now. I said, well, when you walk out that door, we're on one page, one voice, and we all speak the same language. And, they really, for 6 years as health director, they worked like dogs. We made a difference in that we changed Arkansas's health department for kind of a non-speaking health department. So we had governors flying up to see Bill Clinton to want to know, well, what do they do? How do they get things done?
Wow. I mean, you made a transformative change in the Arkansas public health. Yeah.
But it was the people at the health department who wanted to change, and they worked hard, and they worked to make it change. So mayors, all of us would come up, and so we would go down. And everybody was opposed. See, the problem is, when I went out, major problem we had out there was the problem with AIDS, teenage pregnancies, things like that. And so now we're in the era talking about problems that we in the South don't talk about.
Yes,
you can't talk about sex You can't talk about teenage things like, so I had to go out and talk about that. And if you think about things that I wanted to make sure people talked about, I went out and we talked about it. And if you went, and then our TV station, our major NBC TV station in Arkansas, got a major award that year for the program that they put on regarding our health department.
Wow. I mean, so it was no wonder as governor, Bill Clinton knew you, knew your work, knew the transformative work. So you actually, when he became president, you actually made his job easy when it was time to appoint a Surgeon General.
Oh yeah. Oh no. And but one of the things when he asked me to be Surgeon General, I told him. So, nothing I said when I came to Washington surprised Bill Clinton. He knew what I was like. We'd worked together for 6 years.
Right.
And so when I would go to see him, I would outline what Governor, this is what, when he was governor, I said, these are the things we've got to do. We've got to change things. And I'd outline 6 things. This is what we've got to do. And, well, he worked hard to get a lot of those things done.
Absolutely. And those were your things. So what would you say one of your proudest moments you had as Surgeon General?
Oh, I would think probably the proudest moment I had as Surgeon General was when I got confirmed as Surgeon General. And I think when my confirmation was very hard. It was very difficult. Okay. And the reason why it was so difficult, because, we had to, I had to convince a lot of Southern, senators and all to accept that we've got to talk about sex if we're going to deal with AIDS. And we've got to talk about sex if we're going to do something about teenage pregnancy.
Okay.
And I convinced them of how much money they were wasting on poverty, ignorance, and enslavement. And so that was the kind of thing.
So you were able to do all of these things. Well, I'm going to.
I want to say to me now, there was an awful lot of people.
It was a lot of people working with you to do this.
I was the mouth.
Yes, under your leadership. Well, tell me now. Let's flash forward to today. If you were being appointed Surgeon General today, what would your priorities be in 2025?
My priorities in 2025 would be, far as I'm concerned, we've got to educate people on how to be healthy and what they can do to improve their own health. We can do more to improve our own health than all the doctrine in the world, and we've learned a lot about that, and we talk about a lot of the social determinants of health. The things about not smoking, not drinking, exercise, good diet. So we've learned a lot of things, and just wash it, cleanliness, and so I think the thing, and we've learned, and we've also learned, good sexual health. We know that we're sexual beings from the day we're born till the day we die. So, but we need to be sexually healthy.
Yes.
And so that's. And I think we need to make sure that people understand that. And if I was out there today, I really feel that we need to have good health education in our schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. We need to, and we do too little, too late.
Yes.
We want to wait until they're teenagers and, and they're grown up and they're sexually out, and then we're going to teach them. It's too late.
It's already too late. You're absolutely right about that. I mean, and that's, I love your platform because it is applicable to today. I mean, we need to do more education and
right.
letting people know what it means to have a healthy lifestyle and to become more healthy. We need to continue to work understanding and eliminating some of the social determinants from health. And I agree with you. Sexual health couldn't be more important now than ever. So, I mean, it sounds like to me, yeah, and exercise. Yeah,
we took physical education out of schools.
Yeah, right. So then you made the point that we're not doing the education early in school for health in general. We're taking things out like physical education in schools. And so they're not getting exercise in school. They're not getting exercise at home. So, some of these policies that are creating in the curriculum are leading to our unhealthy America.
But, we're talking about obesity and hypertension, the things that are killing us. Well, we've eliminated some of the things that we used to do to prevent some of that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you had a tremendous career after your time as Surgeon General as well. And, I mean, you did so many things. Could you give us one of your proudest moments after you left the office and went on with your life after being Surgeon General?
I really, when I think my life, I really was out on the speaking circuit for a long time after I was Surgeon General, and I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed the influence that I had, bright young women. I talk about I walk around talking about all of my children. But when I talk about all of my children, it's a lot of the bright young women that are in careers in medicine that are providing a lot of the leadership that we have out there in medicine today.
Yes. And
I'm proud of them. Proud of every one of them.
And they are continuing. And what advice would you give to women aspiring to gain leadership roles in healthcare or gain higher leadership roles in healthcare or even outside of healthcare? What would your advice be to women today?
Again, always do your best and never feel that there's nothing you can't do. And when you climb the ladder of success and get to the top, always reach down for the ones below you and provide an elevation, a lift up for the rest. And I think that's really important. We've got to keep pulling women up. And I think that when women get to the top leadership roles in all of medicine, that will end up with a healthier, better. There is no question.
Oh, yeah.
That we have some of the best research. We have some of the best surgeons and all of that out there in medicine. There's no question. But I think we as women have always been nurturers, and we've got to make sure that that we bring up everybody else.
Amen to that. Get out there, do your work, and don't forget to reach back and help others along the journey. I mean, mentorship has ruled throughout this interview. Dr. Elders has expressed how much it was important and formative in her career. It certainly is in mine as well. And all of you, if you're not actively mentoring someone, I would encourage you to mentor people. We do that with License to Live all the time. We take interns every summer, make sure we're working with the youth so that they understand that there's a lot of different things that they can do, whether they're going into medicine or not.
Right.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Elders, thank you for being on the show today. You've given us so much to think about, sharing your remarkable story, how you came from a family of sharecroppers all the way through. So thank you for your time today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Do you have anything else you would like to say to our audience today?
No, I just tell your audience to keep working hard, do our best. We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. We still have lots of things to overcome, and we've got to make sure that we don't waste it. And I'm very upset about, I think we've got to overcome our racial, we still have racial problems out there.
Yes.
Equity, and and involvement. We got to involve everybody. Everybody has a place. And we have to make sure we find it and get them involved.
You've heard it from our 15th Surgeon General of the United States, Dr. Jocelyn Elders. I can't say it any better. Thanks again, Doc, for being on the show.
A pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been disengaged, dissatisfied, disgruntled, disenfranchised with your career, please invite them join us along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe to License to Live. And while you're there, please rate this episode and give me honest feedback so I make sure I'm providing you with the most up-to-date information about career challenges and life changes. And make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. In between episodes, you can find me on social media at Dr. Jarrett. Spell out the word doctor, J-A, 2 R's, E, 1 T. And I will see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.